Hello everyone, and welcome to the Butterflies and Botanicals YouTube channel. This is the very first episode of the Joy in Color podcast. I'm Haley. I'm an indie dyer and an avid knitter and crocheter. And in this podcast, I will be discussing all of my makes as well as yarn dyeing plans going forward in the future. To start out with, I would like to share with you a couple of my finished objects. About a month or so back, I got back into knitting. I hadn't been knitting for a very long time. And so I went to my local yarn store and I picked up a beautiful skein of yarn and decided to cast on a pair of socks. So these are the socks. And I basically did a vanilla pear, with the exception of doing a maker's cuff. I will go ahead and link the pattern on Ravelry on how to do this in the description box below. And the yarn that I used to make these socks is by Frankie Gray Fibres, and it is the colorway Fairy Floss. Part of the reason I wanted to pick up this particular yarn to work with was one, it's a gorgeous color, super girly. And at the time when I cast these on, it was around close to Sock Week that Natalie from Knitty Natty hosts every year. And the theme this year was Ice Cream Social. And this very much reminded me of ice cream. I don't know, not necessarily Neapolitan, I guess, but just kind of like a berry or bubble gum kind of ice cream. And then I don't know if you can see there the little speckles that are in there. I don't think it's showing up very well on the camera, but the speckles are very much green, gray, black, brown, and reminded me very much of pistachios. So I kind of think of it as like bubblegum ice cream with pistachios sprinkled in. Probably not the most delicious combination, but that's what it made me think of. It was also the very first time I have ever knit with a 2-ply yarn. Most of the time when I knit anything at all, especially socks, I work with a 4-ply yarn. So I wanted to try something different. And I don't know if it was that I hadn't been knitting in a long time and that's why my gauge was off, or maybe it was the size of yarn contributing to it. But my gauge on these was way off. And I mean, they are on large sock blockers, and you can see how slouchy and loose they are. They're gigantic. They basically slip down on my feet all the time. So I think I'm probably gonna have to wear them more like slippers and put them over an existing ordinary store-bought pair of socks in the winter. Because they just don't work like regular knit socks. So there's this finished object. The next thing that I completed was the leftover city cowl by Kacey knits. I'll again include a link to that pattern as well as my project page down below. And I went to, where did I go? Oh, that's right. It was Friday crafternoon at Polka Dot Creek Yarn City, not last Friday, the Friday before last. And I got, do I have, one second. And I got a Everyday Favorites yarn bouquet, of course, by Polka Dot Creek, because the entire store is their hand-dyed yarn. It's so gorgeous. And it is in the colorway pastels. And they have basically 12 10-gram minis in a range of colors. I chose 9 of the colors because the pattern calls for 9 of the colors, and this is how it turned out. I'm really happy with it. I didn't bother doing a gauge swatch. I was so excited about the colors, I just cast on and started knitting, and I'm not really familiar with color work. I've done very little of it. hence wanting to try this pattern, because as you can see in between each color, there's color changing rows and of color work rather. And so I wanted to give that a try. Unfortunately, the pattern calls for it to be about 13 inches and this is like 15 inches. So it's very long. And even after blocking, it's not quite as wide as it should be. So it's very snug around my neck and fills up the length of my neck and kind of folds in all around. I'll show a picture of myself wearing it here. I still think it looks nice. It's comfortable, and I think it will definitely help keep my neck warm in the fall and winter months when it starts to snow. I would say the only thing that I didn't enjoy about the pattern, and I would change if I were to do it again, is one, I would probably cast on a few more stitches to fit the colorwork pattern just to make it a little wider, probably incorporate less colors so it's a little shorter, but also the bind off that was suggested in the pattern. I don't know if I did it incorrectly, but it's very tight. There's very little give. It fits over my head, but it's an effort. So it's one of those put the cowl on, then fix your hair kind of deals and hope you don't have to take it off or your hair is going to be everywhere because it is snug. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's beautiful. I haven't made myself a cowl like this before, so it was kind of a fun experiment and I really enjoyed that. While I was at Polka Dot Creek Yarn City, I got to meet up with Shelly and her daughter Allie, who dye for Polka Dot Creek Yarn, and they're lovely. And there's another lovely lady there, Karen, I believe her name was. Hello, ladies. And I also met up with Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty, who does 11 Stitches podcast. I got to meet up with her and her lovely husband, Kent, and their adorable dog, Toaster. And we got to spend the afternoon knitting. It was a lot of fun. And then the following day, Kent and Natalie picked me up and we went for breakfast and then drove over to Ancient Arts, I believe is the name of the yarn store, and it's also their dye studio, and they were also having a knitting afternoon. I didn't get any footage there, unfortunately, because there were a lot of people there and there was just a lot going on, but it was lovely. It was a lot of fun, and the ladies were making some absolutely beautiful projects. So since we were on the subject of visiting the different yarn stores, rather than move on to my current whips in progress, I'm going to discuss a couple of my recent acquisitions. So besides getting the pastels mini bouquet, yarn bouquet for making the cowl, I also got a self-striping sock set to make a pair of socks for someone who will remain nameless because these are gifts. And so here's the label, and it is their Canada Day 2024 colorway, like the Canada, I think it's Canada Day, like A. I love puns, that's great. So I'm excited to try this. I have not worked with the self-striping yarn before. I'm not really familiar with, I know a lot of people will say either knit the toe up or knit the cuff down and do the whole tube and then put in an afterthought heel. I'm not familiar with that. So I think just to be on the safe side, because these have to be done before Christmas, I'm just going to plug in a contrasting color with a heel flap and gusset, and hopefully I will have that cast on by the next time we speak. The Shelly was really lovely and gave me a little sticker there for their yarn store. I don't know if you can see that. It's got the city skyline. That's really cute with Polka Dot Creek Yarn City. That's super cute. And then with my purchase, they also gave me a free set of needle minders, little hearts. They're super cute. I haven't used these before because I don't normally knit in the round, but having done the cowl, now I'm thinking, okay, well, I want to do some more cowls and maybe some more hats. And so with the knitting in the round, I'll be needing these, so that's great. When we were at Ancient Arts on Saturday, I got this lovely little notions tin. Of course, I had to get butterflies because, I mean, come on, I love butterflies. This is by Firefly Notes, and they're out of Richmond, BC. That's the information on the back there. It's a great little tin. The lid just kind of slides open and slides and clicks shut. That's great. I'm happy to have this. I had a little notions bag that I had all my notions in, and because it was fabric, my scissors just kept stabbing through the bag and poking holes in the bag, and I was concerned that eventually it was going to get so bad that my yarn might get damaged in my project bag. So I'm happy to have a tin where everything stays nice and contained. On to the works in progress. I am currently working on a project where I am knitting socks for friends and family for Christmas this year. It's very exciting. And the most recent sock that I completed was this one here. It is the broken seed stitch pattern. I will again link the information below. Basically, it's more of a recipe than a pattern. You can just plug the pattern into your favorite vanilla sock, and for me, that's of course heel flap and gusset. So I did 20 rounds 2x2 ribbing, followed the broken seed stitch pattern across the top, just traditional slip one, knit one, heel. However, I prefer to do 3-row garter edge just because I feel like it's cleaner and helps you to pick up the stitches better. And the way the pattern works is you can do the, give me a minute here. You can do the cuff, the heel, and the toe in the main color so that it's contrasting, and you work the main color throughout, and you alternate, preferably with something colorful and variegated. And so what I chose was my bachelor buttons. Oh my goodness, I can't even pronounce it. Colorway in the dark tone as my main color. And then just a one-of-a-kind oopsie skein that I had in my stash, and I've just combined them because this is quite bold in its patterning, and I figured that muting it down, let me see if he can show you, muting it down with the other color would make it a lot nicer. And then also because it's alternating on the bottom of the foot, the color just, I'm really happy with it. It's a medium-sized sock because the person I'm knitting it for has small feet, unlike me and my ginormous feet. And so I have this sock done. I am going to cast on the other sock today. I'm hoping to get that started. And then what I like to do to break it up so I don't get sister sock syndrome really bad, because I don't know about you, but I have quite a handful of singular socks that I have knit and never knit the pair, the sister for it, the pair for it. And so to kind of break up the monotony of once you've done a sock and you're like, okay, I get that, I'm kind of over it, now what? I have a second set of needles and I cast on the first sock of the next sock that I would like to knit. And so this is the beginning of the, I think it is the Cozy Comfort Core sock by Summer Lee. If it's not cozy, it might just be Comfort Core. I'm not sure. I will again link the pattern down below. This is version C of the pattern. So she does a little bit of stripes and that sort of thing here if you want. And then the comfort core part is done in the foot, where way you do the stitches across the arch of the foot. It's supposed to feel tighter, more like an athletic sock. So the color that I'm knitting this in is my Froggy Went a Courtin colorway in the light tone. And then for the stripe here, I've alternated with the same colorway, but in the dark tone. And then the brown is just some brown that I had dyed in my stash and does not yet have a name. So far, I have done 20 rounds of 2x2 rib. This particular version of the pattern calls for 1x1, but I just prefer how 2x2 looks, feels, and fits. And then I just alternated where the stripes sit a little bit because they were quite high up on the pattern, and the way that the rib kind of puckers on the fabric, I didn't want the striping to be up where it puckers a bit. Like even when it's stretched, you can kind of see that a bit. So I didn't want it quite up that high. So I moved it down a little bit, but otherwise the stripes are basically as the pattern calls for. And I have done 60 rounds total for the leg and am ready to start on the heel flap on these socks. And that is all that I am currently working on. I do have about 5 blankets in, I guess you would call them UFOs because they are long lingering whips, but in the heat of the summer, I just can't bring myself to work on them. So as things cool down and I pick those up again, I'll be sure to share all of those with you. If you've watched till the end, thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Until next time, take care and God bless you.